Hi everybody and welcome to Book Club Review with Alicia Dianne Art. I'm excited to be talking about time management and selling for dummies. We are on chapter, let's see what chapter this is. 15? No, that's not 15. We're on chapter, there we go, 16. I don't know why I couldn't find it. Alright, so the name of the chapter is Planning Your Time Effectively. So a book, Selling for Dummies by Tom Hopkins and Planning Your Time Efficiently. This was a really excellent chapter for me. I really enjoyed it. I didn't even realize too how much I'm learning from this book. I know it is a long read. We've been reading this book together for like 7 months, so it's been a while. But it's actually, like, I'm noticing things, like I notice when people are selling to me, I notice actually the breaks in it, like when they're naming off all the positives, and I'm incorporating those types of things too when I'm talking to my clients, and I'm picking up on things that just totally flew over my head before, so that is pretty funny. I think it's funny, and it's also like good because there's a level of awareness now that wasn't there before, so that makes me feel like, okay, this book is actually working on me. Alright, so it starts out with time is the most valuable resource. Until you realize that, you'll be wondering where all your time goes. Time is more valuable than money and more important to master than selling skills themselves. And they say that because you can always make more money and you can always improve your skills, but you cannot add more time to your life. You have however much time, you have 24 hours in a day just like everybody else, and you cannot buy extra minutes in your day. Like that's it. That's all the time you have. So, and it also has a quote from Zig Ziglar, the famous salesman and like motivational speaker, and it says, when you do what you need to do when you need to do it, you will soon have the time to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And it's simple, but I think it makes a lot of sense. There's this specific book they refer to, in the For Dummies series. It's called Successful Time Management for Dummies. I don't think I'm going to read it for lack of time. But I think it's good that they have that available option. I have already read some books on time management. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And there's a couple of books I read on time management. So it's really all comes to doing, though. I think it's a skill too that you practice. Time management is also a skill, and it's something that you can get better at. Where's my? All right. So anyway, it says the words spending and investing connote different types of ideas. So it suggests to invest your time and be consciously investing your time rather than you're spending it. Even when you're having free time, I think it is a good idea to refer to it as investment time, because you're investing in your family. You might be investing in a hobby, or you're investing in your health. So all of those things is like investment. But if you just look at I'm spending time or wasting time, that's another way that we like to call it, wasting time watching like meaningless shows. But if I'm investing time with my family watching something funny, then that is a positive thing that you're building. So just even reframing it like that, I think it's a good idea and a good concept that we can use in the way we look at time. Because sometimes, especially when you're younger, I think notice as I'm getting older, I'm more conscious of my time and how I spend it, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how much time I have, so I want to make sure that I spend it well. Not saying I always do, but I'm much more conscious of it now than I was 20 years ago. It also says a lot of people, or most people, don't never put a dollar amount on your time. So a way that it talks in here is the same way I learned to calculate your rate in the book, what is it called, by Maria Brophy. It's called Art, Money, Success. So basically you want to calculate your rate by first determining what your yearly rate is, and you want to divide that by 50. That's going to be 50 weeks of the year, leaving 2 weeks for vacation. And then you're going to divide those weeks into how many hours you work per week, whether you work 40 hours a week or whether you work 20 hours a week. Like, you want to divide that rate by your hours per week. If you don't have a set salary, you can still use your ideal or like your honest, I think it's good to use your honest ideal for your annual salary, and then you can divide it into 50 and then divide that by what your weekly, how many hours you're working per week, and then you'll divide that to how many hours you're working in a day, and that will give you your hourly rate. And so, like, say if I wanted to, my son was going to a city that's like 40 minutes away, and I was like, like, I had to also do my own work, so I'm like, it helps me. Just, I read that like before the situation happened, so it made me realize, all right, it's going to be expensive for an Uber, but it's actually going to cost me more if I stop doing my work and I take him myself, and it's going to take me at least 2 hours to do it. So I'm like, you know what, I'll give you the money for an Uber and I'm going to get my work done, and I got my work done. So always like weigh like how much you're worth an hour to whatever task it is you need to do, because some task is just like doing favors for people or running errands, things like that is just not worth your time. I'm investing a lot more in DoorDash and in Instacart, because I'm like, when I need things, it's like, all right, do I want to take the time out right now to stop my work, which I really need to finish, or, you know, do I want to just spend a couple extra dollars to actually get my work done? And, you know, if I need grocery, like if I need a grocery and I can't get to the store today, but I need something today, you know how it is. So sometimes, you know, in the weekends, you know, or when you do have a lot of extra free time and you may have like your schedule's clear, then, you know, of course you can do different tasks. But if you really have like things that are prioritized, and that is another thing that he talks about here, then you want to prioritize, and maybe at that time it might be a good time to actually have something delivered rather than to go run errands while you need to get your work done. All right, let's see. And sales persuasion situations. So let's see. In sales and persuasion situations, you don't see immediate financial payoff. The selling business requires patience, so you're not going to always get the return on your investment right away. So you're going to be investing in your time wisely, using your time wisely for things that will pay off eventually. Sometimes it might be a week later, sometimes it might be a month later, and sometimes, honestly, sometimes, especially for artists, it might be a year later. But if you invest your time wisely, I feel like it will always come back to you. Alright, so it says recognizing activities that you have to plan. So it breaks them down into 4 categories. Immediate activities, these are your most important things that you need to do today. Secondary activities is important, but it's something that you can do during the week. Relatively unimportant, that means there's no specific deadline, and emergencies are things that just kind of pop up randomly. So it tells you how to break down each of those things. Immediate activities, you're going to write them down every day. Make sure that you do those first. Secondary activities, you want to make sure that you have them written down somewhere, but you keep them out of your immediate sight when you don't need them. And it says relatively unimportant things. Let's see, some of those things that you can delegate to someone else. And it also says be cautious of how much time you're spending helping your associates or your coworkers finish their work. And it also tells you to like make sure that you finish your own work and have like set times where you're doing things that are relatively unimportant, preferably like at the end of your workday when you finish all the important things that you need to do. And let's see, emergencies. It says like, you know, especially moms, moms, we have it the worst when it comes to emergencies. Things pop up, things happen. Like I said, like my son needed a ride. Like, those things happen. Sometimes somebody's not feeling well, or somebody needs to go get something, or, you know, all of these things happen that kind of pop up. And of course, anybody can experience an emergency. So hopefully, if nobody's in danger, like hopefully everyone is safe, then maybe it's something that you can delegate to someone else or ask someone to help you if something pops up and maybe someone needs a ride, whatever the case is. Maybe Uber is a good option. So if things pop up, something happens, somebody needs help, Hopefully, if it's not a serious situation, you can delegate it. But if not, then just it says to like just kind of make sure that you're always backing up what you're working on, so that you can just leave it when you need to and you come back to it when you have the chance. So just keep in mind, always be backing up your things so that you're ready for an emergency when you have to leave. Alright, so what else does it say? Knowing when and where to plan. So it talks a lot about planning, the importance of planning. Doing that first thing in the morning, you'll save your life. So you want to write down just no more than 4 things it's saying to do every day, and you're doing that first thing in the morning. I think that makes sense. This is something that I need to be more repetitive about. It's something that I have like times in my life where I'm good at it, and then it just kind of falls away other times. So it's something I need to work on, but I think it is, I noticed that when I do that, it is really helpful. And just keeping in mind, when you keep in mind the things that are important to you, you're going to be more likely to get it done. I think that's just fact, and it's just common sense too. It says, I strongly recommend your daily planning where you doing your planning where you conduct your business. So you want to do that whether you're working at your desk, whether you're working, I have like my little makeshift office. So wherever you work, if you go into a specific place to work, then that's where you want to plan your day, because little things it says will trigger you. Like you might have a post-it note somewhere, you'll have a calendar somewhere, and those things will kind of help you to realize, oh, I need to get that done, and that can help you. So that made a lot of sense. Let's see. Keep immediate activities on your desk. That's another like trigger, like prompting you to do things. And focus. I mean, I think it's important to focus. It does talk about too, like how long it takes. It takes at least 10 minutes to refocus once you get distracted. So make sure that you don't get distracted. Let's see. Keep calls where you plan your calls. Plan a time for your calls. Have categories, or have things to cover whenever you do have a phone call, business call with somebody. Like say, all right, these are the things we want to cover today, and like if you set that stage and people are prepared to know, like, this is what we're talking about. We're not going to be talking about what you ate for dinner last night. We're going to be talking about what we need to talk about. It gives you common pitfalls to avoid, like losing things if you're not organized. So be organized, have a place for everything, and everything in its place, like Grandma said, and make sure that you actually follow through on that. Doing things right the first time, like don't do a crappy job, like do it right so you don't have to do it again, because that's a waste of time. Procrastinating. It says if fear makes us procrastinate, that we're not going to do it well, or that it's going to take a lot of time and we do nothing, but it actually makes us waste more time when we procrastinate. So I think we all know that. We've all been there. So let's try and like dedicate ourselves and make an agreement to not procrastinate. And let's see, making unnecessary or long phone calls, and it gives like some tips to do that. Setting aside specific time, limit your phone time, write down your objective, have materials for your information within reach so that you're not looking for stuff. Find polite ways to end the call or to tell them like that you don't have a lot of time. Let your customers know when you're available to call you. So like you're not calling you Sunday morning when you're going to church with your family, or whatever you do on Sunday morning, or Monday morning when you're trying to catch up on things. So if you do business with someone who chats a lot, try and get off the phone with them. If you spend great amounts of time on the phone, or if you were in the marketing or something like that, then it says use a headset so you're hands-free. I mean, all of those things all make sense. And let's see, unnecessarily long meetings, try to avoid making meetings longer than they need to be. If you're someone who makes meetings, I think it's always good to have meeting notes. One of my, I really had a really good manager for a while, and she would always have like an agenda for a meeting, like so she didn't waste anybody's time. It would just have the categories and the subcategories, and we knew what the task for the day was, and that's a wrap. But it's also good, like she always included an icebreaker. I think it's that's a good way to like bond with people. So if you're in a management position, or if you're a leader in a leadership position, or teacher or whatever, I think it's a really good idea to have your time planned, but also include that little icebreaker in the beginning, because it helps people to kind of let those walls down. And I think people are more willing to talk about important things. So I think it's good. It says, ba 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 ba, don't do long lunches with people. Do long dinners, not long lunches. If you have like a business meeting and you know you want to talk and chat with somebody, I think those types of things are good for the end of the day, like when you're you're done. Let's see. Don't get lost online. Like scrolling is the devil. Let it go. And it says, one of the things it says, I put limits on my phone. That's a good thing. But also, if you like, my mind is like a squirrel. If you have a squirrel mind like me, and you'll like be reading something or writing something, and all of a sudden you get a thought in your head, you're like, oh, let me look this up. I get those like all the time. What it says to do when you have a squirrel brain like me is you write things down, so that way you can look it up at the end of the day. Because sometimes it's a really good idea, and sometimes it's actually to help you with your work. But if it's not part of what you're doing right now, like you're just getting like good ideas, just write it down and keep it someplace safe where you can get back to it. Don't engage in negative talk. Let's see, use your driving time wisely by listening to audiobooks and good things that help you to learn your skill and your industry while you're driving. I think that's a great idea. It's also a good idea to listen to those things and podcasts related to your industry while you're working. I do that sometimes, but I want to do it more. It helps me, but sometimes I just want to hear like nonsense in the background so I can focus. It helps me to relax sometimes to listen to nonsense, but I'm trying to incorporate more of a balance with listening to educational stuff more often when I'm working, because it's just background noise anyway, but it's good if it's good background noise. All right, neglecting to confirm appointments. So always confirm your appointments with your clients. And it says, don't waste time with that. Confirm. It's quick to send a text. Nowadays, I think most people send text or a quick email to say, hey, can you still meet with me? It does give a little mini script of like a more like salesy version of that. But depending on your industry, I think it also depends on what's more normal or socially acceptable for confirming appointments. And I mean, it says don't spend waste time watching mindless TV, obviously, and limit your physical interruptions. So you want to just make sure that you don't have too many distracting things around you in your space. So I think this was a great chapter, and I'm excited to read the next one. I don't know what it's about. It's about staying upbeat when you don't succeed. Oh, I could write a whole book on that. Oh gosh, that's a good one. But I think that's gonna be an interesting one too, because it does take a lot of self-determination and will to just stay positive even when you don't see the results, because eventually they do start to come, but sometimes it takes way longer than you expect. So have a great weekend. I'm so glad you guys joined me for our book club, and I'll be here tomorrow with a more video a more video of this stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Until then, be grateful, with balance, and be yourself. Bye bye.